Trish, a young female astronaut following in her sister Karen's footsteps, encountered an accident as her spaceship Moonshadow crashed. 2 companions on board unfortunately died. The spacecraft barely landed on the surface of the moon. It had become a pile of scrap metal. The nearest rescue is on Earth, which is more than 300,000 kilometers away from the moon. The earliest rescue would take more than 30 days. Luckily, the solar panels haven't been damaged yet, which can provide air, water, and electricity. But Trish landed very close to the twilight line, at the border of the sunlit side of the moon. Sunset will come in 3 Earth days. However, its solar cells need sunlight to keep the air fresh. Once the sun disappears, death will follow. Where should Trish go? A Walk in the Sun, written by Jeffrey A. Landis. Trish forced herself to think that her sister was alive, asking what she would do. Survive. Karen will survive. Currently, the nearest rescue is the Earth that is more than 300,000 kilometers away, and it requires a highly sensitive antenna and a mountain peak with a view of the Earth to send out the rescue signal. Originally, the Moonshadow computer had the most detailed moon surface map, but now it no longer exists. She struggled to find a simple full moon map that can barely be used as a reference. According to the best estimate she can make, her crash site is right on the eastern edge of Smith Sea. What can be seen in the distance should be the mountains representing the dividing line between day and night. With luck, Earth should be visible from there. Under low gravity, she hobbled with an antenna on her back which was meters long, but climbing a mountain is not much different from walking. After reaching the summit, she saw the edge of the Earth revealed on the lunar horizon, like a blue and white marble, which is obscured partially by the black lunar mountains. She carefully adjusts the output signal. Hey, this is astronaut Trish calling from Moonshadow. Emergency, repeat, this is an emergency. Does anyone hear me? However, except for the soft whispering static from the sun, she can't hear anything. She waited a while. Moonshadow calling, this is an emergency. Moonshadow, this is the control center, we got your call. Your signal's weak, but still clear. Please hold on. Trish breathed a sigh of relief. She didn't even know she was holding her breath for so long. The control center, far away on the Earth, now realized that there's still one survivor on the Moonshadow, and Trish started to understand the key point of the problem. Her crash site is very close to the twilight line, exactly on the border of the sunlit side of the moon. Although the moon rotates very slowly, it's unstoppable. Sunset will arrive in 3 Earth days. However, there's no shelter or place available on the moon that would enable Trish to survive for the night lasting 14 Earth days. Its solar cells need sunlight to keep its essential air fresh, and it's absolutely impossible for the control center to launch before dusk. There are too many impossibilities for the rescue team. She sat quietly on the ground, staring at the slender blue Earth on the lunar horizon, lost in thought. After a few minutes, the radio was ringing. Moonshadow, did you copy? Yes, Moonshadow. I copy. We have confirmed the earliest rescue launch will be 30 days away. Can you last that long? Trish desperately pushed the radio sending button. From Moonshadow, astronaut Trish, I'll be here waiting for you. No matter what happens, now all she has to do is figure out how to survive, waiting for the rescue team to arrive. How would she react if she was her sister? She would definitely not be sitting still. Hurry up, little guy. When dusk catches up with you, you were dead. She comforted herself. Trish started to walk on foot and prayed to catch up with the sun. It was like a marathon, but on the moon. It was just like jogging. The chirping of the low voltage alarm woke her up from her reverie. She found that the solar array was providing less current than normal. In just a moment, she figured out what was wrong. A thin layer of dust built up on the solar array. But if she can't find a way of walking that avoids kicking up dust, she'd have to stop every few hours to do some cleaning. She checked the battery pack again, then she took another step. The sun was behind her, the dreamy-looking blue Earth slowly spinning, crawling imperceptibly on the horizon. She slipped into reverie again. Operation Moonshadow was once considered an easy operation. A low-orbit lunar surface mapping flight. While determining the location of the future lunar station, the moon shadow never wanted to make a forced landing, on the moon or anywhere else. The blood from the deceased crew and the nightmare of crashing kept circling in her mind. Teammates dying beside her, and the moon suddenly becoming super huge, spinning at a crazy angle outside the window. Under such circumstances, she had to make an emergency landing no matter what. But that's all in the past. Focus now. Take steps on real issues. The low energy alarm went off again. Dust again? So soon? She looked down at her odometer, surprised to find that she had traveled a full 150 kilometers. Anyway, time to rest. Trish sat down on a big rock. She took a food bag from her backpack. She took a bite. The food bar tasted hard and slightly sweet. It should be easy to keep a walking speed of 15 to 30 kilometers per hour on the moon. If you count in the sleeping time, maybe a daily average of 10 kilometers per hour. With such speed, she could go very far. Karen might like this. She always liked to go hiking on wild lands. In a sense, it's so beautiful here. Right, elder sister? Trish said. Sleeping is a problem. For ease of maintenance, the solar battery pack is designed to be removable. But after tearing it down, it won't be able to power the life support system. She finally found a way. She pulled the short wire out of the clothing to a sufficient length so that she can lie down for a while and keep the battery pack close to her without cutting off the power. She had to be careful not to roll over. After finishing these, she took a nap for a while. When she woke up again, she felt muscle ache and loss of orientation. Then she suddenly remembered where she was. The Earth is hanging at the height of a palm above the lunar horizon. She stood up, yawning, and running towards the sand desert that featured a gray color like extinguished gunpowder. Trish's feet are sore from the boots. She changed pace from running to jumping, then switched to a kangaroo bounce. Things got better at this time, but not enough. Maybe she should have taken the boots off before she started the long walk. Under 1/6 gravity, the pain was at least tolerable. West of Smithsea, she entered rough terrain, with hills everywhere. She had to slow down. Sunshine lit up the hillside. But the inner walls and valleys of the crater are still shrouded in shadow. The blister on her foot began to burst, biting pain coming straight up from her boots. She grit her teeth. Don't let yourself cry. Move on with your weak body. 6 days should bring her past Tranquility Base. She walks while carefully searching the lunar horizon. But she saw nothing. The ancient moon landing site is too small to locate. Unless she passes directly by it, otherwise it is invisible. What a long hike, she sighed. The only tourist spot within a radius of hundreds of kilometers is closed. This is what usually happens, right, elder sister? She said. Waking up from chaotic dreams every day, back to the dark sky and the still sun, yawning and starting another day of travel with sleepy eyes. She takes a sip of boring warm water, trying not to think about where it was recycled from. She takes a break to carefully clean the solar array. This seems to be the circle of life. Walk and rest and back to walking. While sleeping, the sun is still in the same place as it was when she went to sleep. The next day, she repeats the same process. Walk, keep walking west and race the sun to the west. 12 days later, the excitement at the start of the trek had long since faded. All that remains was a firm determination to win, and this sometimes served as a kind of spiritual comfort. She stopped in a long, winding canyon. She had circled half of the moon, but that was the easy part. From here on, the terrain will all be mountains and rugged bottoms. If she slows down and lets the sun go ahead of her, she'd be dead. Half a circle around the moon in 12 days. Karen said, "You were good, little sister." Trish has to wear a spacesuit while Karen, who wasn't speaking, doesn't need to. Karen can do a lot of things that Trish can't. But why doesn't she have to wear a spacesuit? She turned to Karen and asked. Karen smiled bitterly and said, "You ignorant little sister. I don't have to wear a spacesuit because I'm dead. Don't you remember?" "Oh, yes." Karen is dead. This is an excellent reason to let them walk a few kilometers together in silence, until Trish suddenly remembered something. Wait! If you are dead, then why are you here again? Because I'm not here, little fool. I'm just a product of your excess imagination. Trish was taken aback. She turned around. Karen was not there. Karen was never there. Sorry. Please come back, please, Trish pled. 18 days later, she was now really slow. Trish could no longer jump directly from the slope like before. There's no more plains ahead. There are boulders, or cliffs of the crater. A long, monotonous gray moon passed beneath her feet. Good wishes and desperate rushing can't offset the fact that the sun is going down. Every day she wakes up, the sun ahead is a little lower, and more directly shot the red-hot light into her eyes. The rock's shadow reached out to her like the claws of a hungry devil. Even the tiniest rocks could be vicious too. She reached the end of the far side of the moon, Daedalus Crater. But there's no time to celebrate. The sun has long since ended its rise, and gradually falls toward the horizon in front of her. Karen was standing in front of her. She beckoned and told her to hurry up and stop dawdling, you dull girl. Do you want to stay here forever? Little sister, it's a race against the sun, and the sun never stops to rest. You're falling behind. Trish suddenly realized that she was on the verge of madness. In front of her, in the dazzling halo of the sun, she can see an oasis, a small island with green grass and trees in the barren desert. She can even hear a frog croaking. No, that's not an oasis. It was the function failure siren. She stopped and felt dizzy. Elder sister, why don't you talk to me? Did I do something wrong? Please tell me. I'm not here, said Karen. Younger sister, I'm dead. I think it is time for you to face it directly. In your heart exists an ideal image of me. Let me go. Let go. No, I can't do it. Don't go. Karen replied, do you think it is easy to grow up with a sister who wanted to repeat everything I did? Is it easy? I adore you. You are my idol. Don't be naive, little girl. You always kept an eye on my back. No matter what I did, I knew you would do it again. I had to fight like hell to stay ahead. And you follow with no effort. You are much smarter than me. Did you know that? Then do you think I can feel good? Do you think it's easy for me? I have a dead sister, so everything I do, people say I don't do it as good as Karen. Or how Karen would do it. Or if Karen is still alive. What do you think it makes me think? Long pain is worse than short pain. Little sister, said Karen, it is still better than being dead. Can you just be yourself instead of me from now on? I will be. Goodbye, sister. Until the last moment, Trish was gradually overtaken by night. She had to admit the truth that she had been unwilling to face. The death of her sister, who she always felt leading her way, died early in a space accident. Everything is an illusion. Goodbye, sister. She said her last goodbye and went into the mist of moon dust raised by static electricity. The purple night of the moon slowly unveiled. The sun left her. 30 days after unexpectedly receiving a signal from the moon that shows the expedition team still had one survivor, spacecraft rescuer left Earth orbit and flew to the moon. At the top of the mountain by the crash site, the commander scanned the wreckage of the moon shadow with a searchlight, then shook his head in disbelief. What an amazing piloting technique. It's amazing to be able to land this way. What a pity, said another crew member. This didn't save her. After the rescue team searched the wreckage, they found a line of footprints stretching due west and disappearing over the ridge on the lunar horizon. It looks like she's trying to get a good look before the air runs out, the commander said. I don't know how far she'd gone. Is it possible that she's still alive? Another crew member said, "She's not smart enough to breathe in a vacuum. Don't lie to yourself. The rescue operation was a political show from the start. We have no chance of finding a living person here. But we still have to try, right?" The commander tapped his helmet. "Wait a minute. My radio has just picked up some signals. I hear a message. It sounds a bit like a human voice." "I also heard, Commander," said another crew member, "but that doesn't mean anything." The voice of a person is transmitted faintly into the radio telephone. "Don't turn off your lights! Please, don't turn off your lights!" The commander picked up the searchlight, sweeping back and forth in the distance. One pure white spacesuit, now stained as dirty gray with moon dust. Only the crooked solar array on the back was carefully wiped. And the person in the spacesuit was almost falling apart. In her last moments, Trish desperately climbed to the top of the mountain, staying in the sun, just high enough for her to hear the radio. In the past month, she literally circled the moon, walking 11,000 kilometers. When the spacecraft flew away from the moon, Trish took her last glimpse of the moon. For a while, she thought she saw a lonely figure, standing on the moon and waving goodbye to her. She didn't wave back. She took another look, but there was nothing there. Only the magnificent wilderness.